on YouTube and Twitter. We're gonna do the full day tomorrow
All right.
for a
Yeah.
live stream, just
Yeah.
because is what the fuck gonna happen today. Dude, your
Yeah.
voice sounds great, bro.
Does it?
Yeah, it sounds so good.
I'm excited.
I'll send the link out.
I'll lean into the microphone and whisper a couple times throughout the day. All right. Grab the link here. Oh, yeah, I posted in the chat. Uh, there you go.
Let me make sure we're all good here.
How is it when I like cough? Is it like super loud and annoying or no?
I haven't heard. Did you just cough?
No, I'm about to.
Oh, no, I don't know then.
Does that sound horrible?
No, it kind of muted it a little bit.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Guys, let us know in the Discord chat how the volume sounds because TSCR set up his new microphone. So we want to make sure we're kind of both on the same level versus one much louder than the other.
All right. I suppose I have to talk now so people can determine the volume.
I
Yeah,
guess
I hope it
so.
sounds smooth. This microphone setup was like $1,000. It's all right. We spend enough time on here. It's worth it.
Little. Yeah, dude, you sound great.
Yeah, it's exciting.
And with the new camera setup and your mic, you just got a professional setup going.
Yeah. So I'm going live on TikTok. Put a
Hmm.
banner in the background and say, nah, never mind. Uh, I sound like Fergie and Jesus had a baby. Jesus, that's what I sound like, what does Brocco sound like? Who's having a baby to make Brocco's beautiful voice? Oh, that is a Step Brothers quote. You're right. All right, hey, let's get to work. Let's take a look at the market. Here, I'm gonna put my screen up quick and just run through a few things briefly. Um, I haven't familiarized myself another step with what the news was, so let me just quick read through this. I know MP gapped up, Unity gapped up. A lot of the lithium stocks are moving. OKLO had that headline. LAC had a nice upgrade. Small caps. I didn't look at this. Blah blah blah. Nothing. Uh, okay, that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, EOSE down 5%. CSIQ had a downgrade this morning. Yeah. Target had their earnings. They were crap. Target sucks. Um, and then what else? All right, well, whatever. I'll look through that further in just a second. Got a slight gap up in the QQQ this morning. We're up about $2, 0.35%, kind of back into the afternoon highs, just a little bit below that. Um, if you go ahead and look at the hourly, one thing to really be mindful of is we're still getting lower highs on the hourly. The one attempt that we've had really at a higher high, both got sold off, and that was back here last week, early in the week. Otherwise, the hourly still been has been lower highs. We'll see if that changes at all. And we get into, um, actually being able to hold some of these, fairly notable, spots down here. I was watching Mike Webster's video from, I think it was yesterday, talking about how, this type of stuff. And for me too, right? Because I love trading like these gap down upside reversals, and, getting involved on looks like this, where you have a clear presence of buyer's area to risk against an invalidation point into some support areas, and how it's like, yeah, I think his quote was like the kryptonite, for his strategy when you kind of get these hold candles and then sell a couple days later. So, we'll see. We've got the 20 period moving average, the 90 MA, the 5 SMA curling down up above. We got some bearish open gaps still. And then yesterday, Brocco had gone into detail on some things. I think you mostly in the chat, you posted a few of them, on, just some of the fairly extreme readings that are coming in and the obscurities, that are occurring in, maybe sentiment positioning, aspects of the market right now. Makes it a, very interesting area of the market. We also have Nvidia earnings after hours, of course. Going to be exciting to see how not only they report, how they guide, and how the stock reacts. I was just mapping out some levels on Nvidia specifically, and there's a lot of bearish open gaps on this. Still, you got about one, two, three, four, five bearish open gaps currently on this chart, and that's just recently over the past, about 2 weeks. So, um, yeah, just curious as to how that responds. Yeah, so these lithium stocks are fairly strong in the pre-market. Chemicals and lithium has been, performing quite well. SQM and ALB, kind of the, big dogs of the group. I've got position on ALB in my Robinhood account from back here mid-September, somewhere right around there. Um, and then LAC had a little upgrade this morning, up into the 20 May, back into kind of this little area where, we first bought this in after hours back here in the end of September, added to position on this hammer candle at the 90 May, and we're kind of right back in that zone right now. I'm very, curious as to how it responds. And then LAR, which, I think looks fantastic holding this base, kind of straight up from here. Wish I would have gotten involved, I think, back in like this range, like right here against like 420, or even like yesterday, try something out on that. I personally need this to build out a little bit further. Maybe it happens here, maybe it happens all the way up here, maybe it just goes straight up. But we'll see. But this looks, extremely attractive. XOM is gapping down almost 2% this morning by two. It's,
Yeah,
two
crude is
bucks.
getting smacked this morning.
Is it? Wow. Yeah, it is.
The USO is
Interesting.
down about 3%.
Yeah, God, this looks like dog shit. Um, yeah, interesting. What are you gonna do? I'm down 0.36% on the position. But if we go down and break histories, I will remove myself from this. Not a large size position on this. Twilio's looking good. This is an area that, I didn't talk about. Again, it's a lot of these setups are going to be very market dependent. And, if we can't get a majority of things to kind of get cooking, um, insights on some of these individual names and, like I said, kind of, obscure locations, like, this again, undercut, upside reversal, are going to be essentially worthless. And most likely not much happens today until, maybe the after hours. We'll see though. We'll see. I was actually going to run through a few stocks, but I think I'm going to pass over to Brocco instead first.
Okay, I'll bring my screen up. Yeah, so I've been up for a while this morning, kind of keeping track of some, pre-market commentary, watching some stuff. Personally, I don't see anything to do today, like at all. Um, we saw a few, positive signs yesterday, a little divergence from the indexes with, how we saw some individual names start to push out as well as even crypto showing some relative strength yesterday, but even that's gotten faded pretty quickly. IBIT's already about to make new lows this morning. It's already trading right at yesterday's low. So, not great to see that. I will say the Qs kind of look like they can just slowly drift down or kind of trade flat today inside. I had my Soxel idea. I still have this. I'm in a small profit right now. I can't really see myself getting any more size or anything on this idea today ahead of Nvidia's report. I do think a lot of things will clear up ahead of after the report. Mainly, not so much how we react in the after hours, but how we close tomorrow in reaction to that report. I think is going to be pretty big. I did discuss last night some of the bearish sentiment and really what was interesting was this Nasdaq volatility index. So this is just the VIX for the Nasdaq. It's VXN, but this closed over 30 yesterday, which is actually like kind of mind-boggling because the last two times this closed over 30 was when we literally crashed in April earlier this year, and the massive correction in July and August. When we had the yen carry trade. So, I mean, chart on the Nasdaq looks absolutely nothing like what it looked like during those two times, and not even close. I mean, the fear during those two periods, I remember very vividly because I traded them both, was just unbelievable. And we were below the 200 day on both of them. Minimum 15% on the off the highs in both occasions. And there really doesn't feel like there's been any fear in this tape. I know it's a little bit uglier under the hood than it may seem by looking at the indexes, but still to see that is just crazy to me and really hard to be bearish here. Maybe a big enough gap up on Nvidia that gets sold into, Thursday, Friday could reset some things and we can continue to drift lower, but really tough to be bearish here. I mean, a lot of people are hedged, a lot of people got protection on. And from what it seems like, expect the market to go lower on Nvidia's earnings, or are prepared for that. And I just don't see the market doing that when everyone's kind of expecting it to. So that's kind of my thesis there. I mean, this isn't a massive position. I can't really take a big position given that I've just kind of sort of been slowly just in drawdown as I haven't been able to get much traction. So don't really deserve to size up on something like that. I also don't think it's that great of an opportunity yet, depending on what happens after Nvidia's earnings. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I've been kind of keeping some commentary, keeping track of it in my note keeping app this morning, and sentiment seems completely mixed into Nvidia's earnings. It doesn't seem like anybody knows what the hell is going to happen. So if you're having trouble getting any sort of read right now, or feel like you're lost and you don't know what to think, don't beat yourself up, because it seems like that's where a lot of people are at right now. And I love what TSDR always says during these times. I think, what do you say? You say, I know that, 3, 6 months, a year from now, I'm not going to look back at this period on the chart and say, man, I wish I did more. You know, Often the time you're going to look back on it a few months from now and say, man, I wish I did a whole lot less. So I'm trying to keep that in mind right now. TSDR always likes to say that during these periods, and I don't think you've said it yet. So I
I
wanted
haven't
to
said
bring
it
it up
yet.
today because I thought about it this morning when I was sitting here, kind of thinking about how I've been approaching things the last few weeks. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, there was some interesting kind of stock news this morning that we haven't really seen. I mean, MU was given some commentary this morning, down about 1%. MU or sorry, OKLO had a little PR, was up about 7%. SMR started moving a little bit with it. Obviously, you saw MP get that headline. They got some bullish commentary from Goldman Sachs pretty early this morning, and then that headline came out with the Department of War gapping up a little bit this morning. REMX, we talked about this in the post-market recap, I think on Monday, and this kind of retested and pushing out again, and some of those names are up. So yeah, but I don't see. Obviously, forgot to mention Unity was up like 10% in the pre-market. They partnered with Epic Games, for some stuff. So maybe worth keeping an eye on that there. But as far as today, I'll probably be gone like half the day, to be honest. Just like trying not to do stuff, just kind of, go for a walk or whatever it may be and come back, especially if we see the actions kind of pretty slow. When you get a lot of people talking about, the market's going to do nothing today ahead of the report, can kind of be like a reinforcing kind of loop, and the market may just honestly chop around as everyone's probably positioned however they want to be and are just kind of playing a waiting game now. So for that reason, we're going to do the full day live stream on Twitter and YouTube tomorrow rather than today. because I do think and I'm hoping there might be some more actionable stuff to talk about tomorrow versus today. Um, but I really thought that we were actually going to fill the gap yesterday. We left a subtle little bearish open gap yesterday. We couldn't quite fill it. I really thought that when we took out those lows, reclaimed and got back above VWAP, that this was going to go fill that gap. Especially when you saw like VIX make low a day and stuff, and we just couldn't get there. And I will say that I did not like to see that. I really wanted to see us at least be able to fill the gap and close potentially green, because then you would have had like a failed inside bar breakdown. But we didn't really get that. One really interesting thing, and maybe this just has to do with maybe like where the VIX is at in some of the vol products, but I posted a little comment on Twitter last night about there's like a lot of volume being traded this week on the indexes, like really notable. I talked about, I think SPY's traded like 62% of its average weekly volume, Q's 67%, IWM like 75%, and the Dow ETF did more volume than the April 7th low yesterday. So I don't know what the hell's going on there. I'm not going to try to look into it too much, but it is really interesting. The SOX idea I had, this did trade a lot of volume yesterday too, despite closing down 7%. A lot of volume there, and sometimes when the market's like not below the 200 day, these bottoms may not seem like obvious capitulations, but more like just start off as a little bit of an oversold bounce. Some volume comes in under the hood, and even though we don't make a full snapback recovery like a 5 star like mean reversion or a parabolic long, that can be the start of the process to come back up. Similar to how we found some lows prior to DeepSeek back here, where it wasn't super obvious some of these times, but we just saw like kind of high volume at the lows, and the market just turned up after that. So it's tough to get a read right now, honestly. This NQ is interesting. I'm watching this open gap. We had this big 10-10 down day where we were down 4.5%. We gapped up the following Monday and kind of left this open gap on the futures that we came into, briefly dipped into yesterday and held. So this is an area I'm going to watch as far as the futures go, and maybe the indexes. One thing I can think of, if we end up holding inside today and don't invalidate yesterday's low and gap up on Nvidia's report and follow through, it could be like an inside bar and up scenario, which we talked about yesterday, is some like bottoming process where you get an inside bar that closes up on the day after like a high volume day on some things at the lows into some big spots, and then you follow through to the upside, take out that high, and close near the highs. Could be a little potential turn, but still it's so hard to say. I'm gonna try to just gather some more information today, not try to do too much at all, and then obviously wait for Nvidia's report. So that's all I got this morning.
Hey, so I just want to actually read some of the comments that I posted in the Substack yesterday evening
Please do.
about the market, because I thought it was a good, balance. Here's what I say. It's kind of long, so just bear with me for a little bit. Trading's been tricking lately. I think almost can appreciate everyone can appreciate that sentiment. But where do we go from here? I'm in the camp still of I don't know, as I was on Sunday. We lost the 50 SMA on the QQQ for the first time in over 6 months. The 90 MA is crossing below the 20 MA for the first time in over 6 months. This is a change of trend. But is it the end of the rally, the end of the correction, or the beginning of further pullback still? Today is promising, and maybe even a bit more promising than Friday or the Friday before that, where we found buyers step in. I'm quite focused on the daily and hourly charts. Now more importantly, that we have a variety of stocks to choose from. Basically, that there are more stocks of interest. It's not really just that though. Yeah, the way that a variety of individual stocks behave today is promising. Does that mean we're going higher? Not necessarily, but we have signs that we might. But we have some indication that we could. By no means are we out of the woods, but for signs of compelling risk to reward balance with evidence of participation really has less to do with the indexes and more to do with individual names, which in my opinion is far more important than the cues. Now, is all this a moot point with NVIDIA's earnings tomorrow after hours? We will see. This is why trading is a game of probabilities. You find spots in stocks and layer evidence while deploying and managing risk efficiently to gain an edge. Let's see if we have that here or another stall in selling to resume shortly. Excited to find out either way, as activity has been minimal of late and would love nothing more than for that to change. To balance out these comments, I still have major concerns given the locations of the most heavily weighted stocks in the market and their impact. Where would a near-term bounce take us? And is positioning reset enough following the run that we've had. I also encourage a simple approach still of waiting for stocks and the market to remount the 9 and 20 period moving averages. The easiest markets to navigate and the best stocks to trade are those that are above the short-term moving averages, aka in a trend. So instead of racking your brain, eyes, heart, and account, why not just wait for a follow through day? Wait for a remount of MAs and wait for leaders to show leadership, get tight with good setups and relative strength. Time will tell. As a reader, keep in mind that I speak in probabilities and potential, ideally focused on the optimistic approach while maintaining a sober approach with patience and discipline. So um, again, very balanced. I want to emphasize kind of the bottom comment, right? Is, if you're looking for, activity and looking to, exploit some of the, volatility of late, you can find, some of these spots. JJ Top Gun, has done a phenomenal job over the past few weeks, kind of picking some spots and picking some stocks. It's been kind of fun to tag along on some of those ideas with him. Um, and however, for a majority of people, the most simple thing that they can do is the hardest thing, which is wait. Seriously. It's that quote that Bracco said of I've never thought during May 12th after we gapped over the 200-day moving average that I was looking back at March and early April saying, damn, I wish I would have just traded more so I could have 2% more in my account or 3% more in my account right now, to deploy on this. I wasn't thinking about that in May. We weren't talking about the environment. We weren't talking about the VIX, fear, this and that. We were talking about setups. We were talking about excitement. We were talking about potential, talking about groups, themes. And when that is the landscape, and we go right into in the morning Zoom, when we go right into QQQ, above the rising moving averages, tight narrow range still. As long as we hold above that, we're good to go. And then we start talking about individual stocks. We start talking about groups, start talking about how, hey, market opens in 5 minutes. The guy got to nail down my list here before the market opens and narrow my focus. That's when things are exciting. That's when you should be putting on risk. Right now is when we should still be managing our expectations. Where, oh shoot, I had this thought that I wrote down as I was writing stuff last night, Bracco, which was um um I'm gonna think of it. It was actually a really good quote that I wrote down in Microsoft Word. Um it was something like when the market's below the 20 May, whatever, that all we have to do is manage ourself. And then when the market's above it, all we have to do is manage our stocks, right? So it's the difference between environments, managing yourself and managing your stocks, whether it be your watch list, your positions, your, your trading decisions, your stock selection. But right now, you just have to manage yourself. It's the only thing you have to do. Okay. Armand saying Gilead might be ready. It's about as crazy as me buying XOM yesterday, Armand. Nah, I agree. I know what you're saying. Actually, with that, wish I had a few healthcare names in the mix. This XLV has actually been trading pretty tight for the past 5 days. Pretty impressive. Anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? MP is up 6%. What was the headline? Saudi Arabia mining company or something?
Yeah, MP
Um,
Materials and U.S. Department of War partner with Saudi Arabian mining company to develop rare earth refinery joint venture.
it's a good headline.
Adobe bought SEMrush this morning.
Let's see, what is that?
SEMR.
Yeah. What's Adobe doing?
Obviously, a couple earnings, Lowe's, Target, TJX, all reported this morning.
And trade the retail companies.
Dude,
Um,
Caruso and Shapiro's podcast is awesome. For anyone that's looking for like a stock podcast to listen to, just a podcast about stock market commentary, those guys are like unreal guys. Super smart. I mean, both like market wizards in my book.
yeah, I'm starting to like fall in love with Matt Caruso.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Dark's been kind of sending, some stuff he's been talking about occasionally.
Yeah, making sure that paying attention to his Twitter and stuff, and what he's um watching. I mean, he has experience, like a variety of experience, and he's got phenomenal insights.
Yeah.
Um, we should get him on. Speaking of phenomenal insights, um, tonight at what was it, 7 p.m. Eastern tonight?
Yes.
Connor Bates is coming on for conversation on Zoom tonight. So we'll send out the link in the chat. Yeah,
Yes, we
Connor Bates, the
will.
man, the myth, the legend.
BlackRock's spot Bitcoin ETF saw its biggest outflow since launch yesterday. About 532 million left IBIT on Tuesday, the fifth straight day of redemptions. US
Mhm.
spot Bitcoin ETFs have had over 3 billion pulled so far in November as Bitcoin is down almost 30% off its October high. Pretty gnarly.
Honestly, don't think I have anything else to say. Yeah, I'm excited for Connor tonight. Any other rare earth stocks that look attractive? MP did have a nice little higher low. This could be like a wedge pop here today. The daily has a weekly look. Could be a
I
little
mean,
weekly in our God, it's just so
UAMY's gapping out of double inside days. That's what we talked about yesterday too.
hmm. There might be an opportunity in these today. CMY is actually interesting. What's USAR doing? Nothing. HYMC had a high tide inside day yesterday. Hmm. The metals doing gold. Will be. All right. Well, let's go on and get to work. See what the market offers us today. Guys, if not gonna lie, if the first hour is pretty lame, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Definitely not a kicker, but that's a good candle. Nice PR on it today. I'm gonna keep my eyes on this as well. Right on my screen on Unity. Other than that, tracking this TTI a little loosely. If it goes red to green, I might. Might grab it.